All right. Well, thanks again for everybody joining today. We're going to go ahead and get started with intros and get into the webinar that we have planned for you today. My name is Rob Walsh. I'm one of the co-founders here at VividCharts, but much more importantly, we're lucky to have Vicki Eastwood joining us today. So Vicki is a director of product management at a really cool healthcare organization called Novant Health. So we're going to learn a lot about Novant Health and some of the things they have going on over there. And Vicki's a leader in the digital products and service organization there. So Vicki, would love to have you just kind of say hello and give a little bit of an intro for yourself, and then we'll kind of continue on with the conversation.
Great. Thank you so much, Rob. It's great to meet everybody. I'm Vicki Eastwood, as Rob said, Director of Product Management with Novant Health. And I sit in the digital solutions group, and we drive all of the variety of things, digital assets like the websites, the mobile applications, chatbot. We have a number of applications that we've custom made, and we do everything we can to create a remarkable experience for our patients and our partners.
Awesome. Thanks, Vicki. And just for like a little bit of housekeeping up front for those in the audience that aren't familiar with VividCharts, we are an elite technology partner of ServiceNow, and we're a data visualization and report automation platform that lives directly in our customers' ServiceNow instances. So what we're going to hear from Vicki today is really a reporting process and a business process that was inefficient that we added efficiencies to. So as we're kind of hearing the Novant Health story today, anyone in the audience, I kind of encourage you to think in your processes, in your day-to-day meetings and ceremonies, where do you have reports that are maybe living in Excel, living in PowerPoint, or just aren't as efficient as they could be? And we'd love to kind of, set some time outside of the webinar today to learn a little bit more about it and see how we can add efficiencies to your processes and really turn reporting into an accelerator for your business. So you'll kind of hear that through the Novant Health lens today. So wanted to kind of set the stage there. And then, just a little bit of an agenda here. We're going to start with, having Vicki share a little bit about Novant Health as an organization. We're going to rewind and hear, how they got started with ServiceNow from an ITBM perspective. We're going to hear about a really interesting organizational change that took place at Novant, going from a project-focused organization to a product-oriented organization. And then that's going to take us into how and why they decided to partner with VividCharts and some of those efficiencies we partnered on. So at the end, we'll open it up to Q&A. So kind of be thinking about, as we take you through the story here, questions you want to ask of Vicki at the end, or of me and VividCharts at the end. So we'll have some time slated there for that. And with that, I'm gonna ask Vicki here to just again kind of give a little bit of a background on Novant Health as an organization. So throughout the presentation, they kind of know what's top of mind and the values of the org. So Vicki, would you mind sharing a little bit of background on Novant Health, the organization?
Absolutely. Thank you. Novant Health is located in the Southeast. We have a 4-state footprint: Virginia, North and South Carolina, and Georgia, with the majority of our hospitals and clinics and serving our patients. In majority is in North Carolina. We have some main key principles that we strive to meet all the time. The first one is access for all. We create a safe community of belonging, ensuring everyone that we serve feels important and cared for and heard. You can expect a warm welcome and convenient, easy experience, whether it's virtual or in our physical locations or anywhere else that you interact with Novant Health. We are human-centered. We know that everything that we do, the highest quality healthcare begins with listening, and we strive to connect with each person and every family that we interact with, and designing an experience around you, your needs, your family, and your journey. Purposeful innovation is another key principle. We continually design and build leading technologies with purpose, targeting the needs of our patients and populations. From driving advancements in medicine through research to reimagining the future of care delivery, we strive to bring the latest innovations whenever our patients need them, so that they can enjoy better experiences and better outcomes. And last but not least is we strive for world-class quality. We're a team of experts dedicated to continuously providing the highest level of care to our patients. And by delivering excellent medical care in the safest environments, investing in our leading institutes, and pursuing the latest treatments, and partnering with our physician and team members, we ensure that you get the next level care that you need to thrive.
That's great. And yeah, I think you're going to hear in the conversation today a lot of those values coming out in the project that we've been working with Novant on. And then you're going to kind of hear some of those same terminologies, so you can kind of see really clearly the values come out in every aspect of the business at Novant. So appreciate that, Vicki. The next thing we're going to kind of want to go into is kind of rewinding a few years way before VividCharts and just going into where did you start with ServiceNow from an ITBM perspective? And we kind of mentioned that organizational change from project to product, but this even predates that. So, give us a little bit of background here on where you started with ServiceNow from an ITBM perspective, and then that'll kind of take us into some of the changes that took place along the way.
Well, originally we started with ServiceNow using the project and portfolio management. We transitioned from the traditional project management key software to ServiceNow's project management software. We had a PMO of about 60 project managers who began using the project management software. That was the way that we had done things for years. The majority of our projects were around working with a vendor who had a team that would implement software for whatever the application was that we needed at the time, and we managed it all through the ServiceNow project management software.
Awesome. Thanks for providing a little bit of the background there on kind of the starting point. And, I think this is a topic that's going to be pretty interesting to a lot of the audience. We talk with PMOs on a weekly basis who are maybe considering a change like this from project to product, maybe run more of a hybrid organization where they're doing some waterfall and some agile. So let's talk about that a little bit more. And I think as a starting point, we'll kind of work our way down the content on the right-hand side of the slide here. But just kind of talk to us about the why behind this shift for Novant Health, thinking back to that time.
Sure. About 3 years, a little over 3 years ago, we got new leadership in our digital products and services team. We actually renamed ourselves from IT, the traditional terminology, to DPS. And the new leadership felt that it was time for a change to move to being more agile. We were very cautious, risk adverse as a project management team, which also brought very slow implementations because we ticked and tied traditional project management processes, and so a project would take a very long time because we gathered requirements and then worked through a standard project management schedule, which may be delivered 1 to 2 years later, but the needs of the business could have potentially changed, and so that the product that we delivered may not have met the needs of the business partners. So we wanted to change that and be more responsive and more agile and deliver faster and more relevant products on a timely basis. So we began transitioning from project management to product management. And in doing that, we began to develop small product management teams that included 7 to 8 team members, and with the majority of them being developers. We also included a product owner and a scrum master, and each of them would serve a particular product and deliver features and functionality more frequently, on a more timely basis. We would test it and adjust and get feedback from our business partners, adjust, and then continue on down the path of working on the backlog. The tech stack changed, but the communications remained the same. So while we were changing to become more agile, it was difficult for some of the leaders and business partners. They understood that we were working and striving to deliver quicker and faster, and they appreciated that. But they still felt like they needed communication from us on a regular basis on the status of things. And so they liked that project management communication around status. And so that was a challenge for us. And so we determined that reporting really needed to be layered throughout the organization so that we not only delivered, but reported on our progress of how we were moving towards the roadmaps that we'd laid out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think so. We're going to talk a little bit about status reporting in particular. So I think let's spend some time from like a ServiceNow perspective. You ended up kind of making the decision to keep those high level details being tracked in ServiceNow. So could you kind of like describe what you use ServiceNow for in that status reporting process, just from like a data input standpoint?
Sure. So when we moved to an agile methodology and agile teams, Scrum teams, we realized that the agile module in ServiceNow didn't include a reporting element, but we did like the project management high level information that was in ServiceNow, and we continue to use that functionality. And ServiceNow also has a status report that you can generate that was about 6 pages. And we wanted something that was a 1-pager that was relevant, that our leaders and our business partners could look at it and say, here's where we are this week, and this is what they're going to be working on, and here's the key risks. So we really wanted something that was not available in ServiceNow in the format that we wanted.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think we're gonna kind of show what we ended up with in that 1-page kind of nicely branded status report. But let's talk about, so the shift from project to product. We have a new team structure, and let's talk a little bit about just the personas involved in that status reporting process. And we'll kind of talk about how you all use the solution today after we launched with VividCharts. But could you just kind of walk us through, what are kind of the roles and responsibilities of, product owner in the org, product directors and the 2 types that you have, and then stakeholders in the business?
Sure. So generally, our product owners sit with each product, and they manage the day-to-day operations. They cultivate the backlog. They have relationships with all of our business partners, and they really are the key leader on the ground, who drives the product and owns the roadmap for the product, helps to prioritize what is key to be working on these 2 weeks, and works with the team to translate from the business, to the technical, and understand what is desired, the next feature that we want to focus on. They also own the weekly status report and update that in ServiceNow. The product owners have a dotted line relationship to product directors, and the directors have a program that generally can have 3 to 5 products and product owners, that are under their hierarchy. So the product directors need a way to manage each of their products, know where they are, what they're doing, and be able to share out to senior leadership, as there is progress on their program. So that's the product directors, and then we also have key stakeholders. We have, and that can range from marketing to doctors and clinics to finance to HR. There's just a wide range of folks who are our key stakeholders, and as they are trying to get support their business, we needed a way to be able to communicate with them where we stood on their roadmaps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think, whether if you're in the audience, if you're running a project-oriented organization or a product-oriented organization, you can kind of draw parallels in the personas here. And I think you'll also be able to draw some parallels to what Vicky and the team was experiencing kind of before partnering with VividCharts from a status reporting standpoint. So for the 3 personas we're talking about, Vicky, could you just kind of outline their role in the status reporting process and kind of give a description of what it was like kind of before we partnered together?
Right. So just kind of going left to right, the product owners, as I mentioned, it was their job to report out the status of their product, and the ServiceNow status report, as I mentioned, is about 6 pages, and it's related to a project, not a product. And so it wasn't really quite the relevant information that we wanted to report out. So several of our product owners just bypassed totally the status report in ServiceNow, and they created their own 1-pager PowerPoint. That was a very manual process. They figured out what format their own format would be, and it was inconsistent across the each of the products, across the portfolio, and so it was inconsistent, and it really didn't give us that world-class quality that we wanted to present as a department. And it was very time consuming because it was such a manual process. It took 1 to 2 hours extra every at the end of every week that they had to reformat and fix their manual status reports. The product directors, as I said, they got a variety of status reports in their program, and it was difficult to not really know where to go to find them. It sort through your email, not knowing when they were going to be quite delivered. It was just a very inconsistent process, and they really didn't have a bird's eye view of their program. And then same thing with our key stakeholders. Reading through a 5 or 6 page status report was just not very effective with their time. And they also got like the directors, they also got multiple status reports in a lot of different formats, and it just wasn't that world-class quality experience that we were really looking for.
Awesome. So that's all really helpful, and I think a lot of folks in the audience can kind of draw parallels there because we hear it from PMOs on a week to week basis. So let's go into what we ended up building together using the VividCharts platform, and the term you used in kind of describing what Novant strives for, world class, really just kind of echoed for us as we were putting this together. So I think just from an aesthetic standpoint, I love the Novant brand and how this turned out. But I'd love to have you kind of describe for the audience, what the design process of putting this together was like, and just kind of talk through some of the content on here and why having it in this concise format was so important.
Sure, thanks, Rob. So we worked with VividCharts to design a one pager. I love it because it's we can look at it in ServiceNow, and it's clickable. You can click through the risks and issues and go to the data behind it, and see what the risks are in ServiceNow if you want to get more detail. You can download it into a PowerPoint so that you can put it into a presentation. Several of our key stakeholders are thrilled with this and use these in various presentations that they do when they're wanting to share the status of one of our products. We worked with VividCharts and kind of laid out our requirements. I met with them on a weekly basis over a couple of month period as it was being developed. They engaged some designers to help with the look and feel of it, just to make sure that it. And we engaged with our marketing team to make sure that it met our standards from anything that goes out from Novant Health. And came up with this product, and it really is. The data was already in ServiceNow in key spots, and so it really does just pull the data in and create this report.
Yeah, I love it. And so this is kind of a single product update view. And what we're going to look at next, is something that you personally use pretty consistently. And this is kind of the interface where you can filter down for a given portfolio and go into that individual product view. So could you just kind of talk through, how you use this personally and some of your peers internally, just kind of walk through the animation that we're seeing here?
Absolutely, sure. So we have a weekly director meeting where the directors discuss their programs because, just like the world, everything is now omni-channel, and it's not just one product that's in a portfolio, and it's not self-contained. It impacts everyone else, and so we need to make sure that we are aware what someone else is doing, especially with COVID. There may be something new coming up like the vaccine, and we need to be able to have information in our chat bot to answer patients' questions, but we also want to have it readily available on mobile, some information if someone's trying to look up where or when. So it's important that the new features and the hot topics are discussed in our directors meeting, what each of the other products are doing so they can integrate with each other and coordinate. So we use this project status dashboard as a way to look at our products. And I love this view because you can sort and filter it. We can just hone in on one program or one director's program, and then, or we can look at what's red and figure out what do we need to take care of for sure this week and why, and what are we doing to address it. So we can sort and filter it, and we do often in a variety of different ways to understand and discuss. It really gives a picture of our portfolio, and it fuels conversation so that we are all on the same page.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And one of the, I guess, looking back, one of the more fun parts of the story and the kind of the development process with you is we developed the kind of consistent format with you, as well as that kind of portfolio program level portal. And then you went and demoed it for your peers, the other product directors in the organization. And I'd love to have you just kind of, as you went into demo that, how did they react? Kind of what were their thoughts after you kind of, showed the rest of the team?
Sure. So at Novant, digital products and services is a team of about 12 to 1,500 people, and a variety of different areas, from business intelligence to our EMR, electronic medical records team, and digital solutions group that I'm on is about a little over 100 people. And so we developed it and began doing our methodology for status reports and how we communicated out. Well, directors in other areas heard about it, and they wanted a demo. And it was easy for me to partner with them and say, well, sure, I'll set you up your own portfolio, because it was easy to just query the database in ServiceNow and pull out their portfolio, and then teach them how we created the status reports and the operational things behind it. And they were able to begin creating their status reports. So yes, it's not just digital solutions. It is more and more of DPS is adapting this way of managing their status reports.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. And, to kind of summarize, and this is consistent with a lot of the organizations that we work with, and we looking back after we, go live with a solution like this, for a product owner, it's consistent and concise formats, one page, all I have to do is input the data and the report comes out with the world-class branding, right? It makes things really, really easy for me. From a product director standpoint, you just kind of talked through. We now have an interface that we can really easily get to the products that we need to discuss and pull them up right where the data lives in ServiceNow. And then from a stakeholder standpoint, again, it's really easy for me to consume because it's all the same format, right? And it's coming, from the product owners on a consistent basis across the organization. So, love to kind of summarize that there. And, I would say this is consistent with a lot of the organizations that we work with, where what we're really after, whether it's project status reporting or, any other process area that you're using ServiceNow for, what we're aiming for is efficiency and kind of speed gains for all the parties involved. In this case, our product owners, our directors, and our stakeholders, consistency in the format, and then alignment from, reporting as a communication tool through this organizational change. Reporting kept that communication line open, kept the organization aligned, and really aligned the incentives where a product owner, again, they're incentivized to just put the data in the system because the rest, is taken care of for them from there. So love to kind of just summarize that at the end. And, with that, we're going to kind of open it up to Q&A. I imagine there's questions for Vicky, maybe questions for me and the VividCharts team. So feel free to use either the chat function in the Zoom webinar or the Q&A function, and I'll kind of moderate those and kind of pass them to Vicky or address them if it makes sense for us. Okay, and so Vicky, the first question we got, I think I'll direct to you. So the question was, how do product managers distribute these to stakeholders?
Great question. So we actually launched this version of our status reports in an agile functionality. So we had phase one, and with what you saw was our initial launch of our status report. We are getting ready to, next week, we're going to be launching a little bit different version, just a little bit different in the look and feel, just to make it based on some of our feedback, make it more even better to meet the needs of our stakeholders. Along with that, the distribution process, initial, they would generate them and send out, a status report to their key stakeholders. Each of the product managers, after they generated it, they would manually email it out. Starting next week, we are going to be sending out automated status reports. So we have set a time that the status reports need to be generated. End of day Friday, 10 o'clock on Monday, the status reports will be generated. The status report emails. And what we are doing is we have an email template that we created. And based on who is identified as a stakeholder in ServiceNow, they will receive a copy of the status reports for all of the products that they are a stakeholder for. So they'll get, instead of 5 emails, they'll get 1 with 5 status reports or links to the status reports, so that they can go out and download and use the PDF or PowerPoint that they for the products as they want. So we are looking forward to that and excited about launching that next week.
Awesome. And Vicki, we did have another one come in, and I think this will be, I'll answer part and then I'll kind of prompt you with another part. Can these kind of like that one pager that we saw in the product status report, can these be created for demands as well? So I'll kind of take the first part. Yes, a similar type of format can, and we do see those being created for demands or even other process areas like a major incident summary, failed change summary that kind of summarizes an individual thing that is maybe, using data from a few different areas of the platform. So from a functionality standpoint, yes. But Vicki, I know demand is kind of top of list for you all looking at next year. So I always think, like, in an event like this, it'd be nice to kind of share some knowledge about kind of what you have in the plans for demand next year as an organization, or just kind of share, what are the top priorities for you as a product leader going into next year?
Sure. Yeah, very relevant question. I was in an all-day on-site meeting yesterday about demand management, and we have a list of things that we want to accomplish and be able to communicate about our demands. So absolutely, this one pager is on that list to identify the information about the demands. And we really have benefited from being able to create, a simple, easy to read document. Basically it sits on ServiceNow and generates the view that we want, pulling the information that we need to communicate. So we are planning to leverage VividCharts to enhance our demand management next year. That's our big thing.
Awesome. And then, I'm not sure if we'll have any, there's one more question in here. Our organization includes a lot of financial calculations on our reports. So I think they just kind of want to know how we might handle that. And I think I can take that one. So we do see other organizations who, maybe have some projects that are budgeted and they include financial information. So you think on that one page that we saw for Novant, we've seen financial sections of those. And those can include, just displaying a value that's in the system or putting some math or calculations behind them. So we see that, and then we kind of see, the dynamic of those more hybrid organizations where maybe they have some projects that are budgeted, some that aren't, and having 2 types of status reports. So a lot of flexibility around that.
The key thing that I've learned or understand is that as long as the data is in ServiceNow, then I think you can make a view of it, right? Isn't that correct?
Absolutely.
You can, yeah. So I think that's the case. I have a question. I think it maybe came directly to me. The question is, our organization runs both agile and waterfall projects, so reporting isn't optimized for either. Is that something you've run into? Yes, and actually next week when we launch the individual stakeholder email, we are also introducing going back to a project management status report. So we have the way that we've identified a field that shows whether we want this to reflect a project or a product, and then they look slightly different. They're very similar, but they look slightly different. In our portfolio view, it lists everything, and then when you click through, then you either get the project or the project status report, depending on how we've identified it in ServiceNow. So yes, we ran into that, and we'll be addressing that next week.
Awesome. That's great. That's great.
Mhm.
Vicky, really appreciate you joining and having such a great conversation with me today. To the audience, we appreciate everybody taking some time out of their day to hear Vicky's story and the Novant Health story. So thanks to everyone who attended, and a special thanks to Vicky for presenting.
Thank you.